University on the occasion of the 12th inaugural lecture of the university to be delivered by Professor Alexandra Esimaje. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's rise on our feet. The Vice Chancellor's procession is marching into the auditorium. Please, everyone, stand. This day, the 18th of October 2022, to be delivered by Professor Alexandra Esimaje, a professor of English and Applied Linguistics and Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Education. Let's remain standing as we take the national anthem and thereafter the Benzin Idahosa University anthem.
Father.
have the honor to invite Professor Mrs. Nora Omorigi to say the opening prayer.
Hallelujah. Father, we exalt your holy name. We thank you for the great grace you gave us to be here today. Much more, we thank you for your hands upon your daughter to prepare for this inaugural lecture. Our people traveled. You have brought them here in peace. We say, be exalted, be glorified. We hand over to you. Holy Spirit, take over in the name of Jesus. We hand over your daughter again to you. Empower her. Give all the agility needed, all the utterance in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Father. Take over. At the end, we have every cause to glorify your name. In Jesus' name we have prayed.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, please be seated. Once again, welcome to Benson Idahosa University on the occasion of the 12th inaugural lecture of the university. At this time, I have the honor to respectfully invite the registrar of Benson Idahosa University, Mr. Vincent Itoya, to take over the proceedings of this event. Please put your hands together for the registrar.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 12th inaugural lecture series of the Benson Idahosa University this 18th day of October 2022. With the permission of the President and the Vice Chancellor, I'd like to briefly introduce first officers of the university and guests to this event. Top of the list is the President of Benson Idahosa University and Head of Cabinet, Church of God Mission International, Bishop Dr. Feb Idahosa. You're welcome, sir. Congratulations on your 20th wedding anniversary today. Please celebrate the President and his wife in absentia. Thank you, sir. Next, we have the Vice Chancellor and Chairman of the Senate of Benson Idahosa University, Professor Sam Gobadia. You're welcome, sir. Next, we have the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Benson Idahosa University, who himself was also an inaugural lecturer, Professor Johnson Olajide Oyedeji. We have the Bursar and Chief Financial Officer of Benson Idahosa University, Dr. Glade Iguagba. We have the librarian in charge of Benson Idahosa University, Mr. Henry Ehime Okoso. We have the Provost of the College of Medical Sciences of Benson Idahosa University, Professor Bishop Vincent Yahweh. You're welcome, sir. We have the Dean of the Faculty of Social and Management Sciences of Benson Idahosa University, Professor Godwin Obo. You're welcome, sir. We have the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture and Agricultural Technology of Benson Idahosa University, Dr. Helen Ajayi. You're welcome. We have the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Law of Benson Idahosa University, Dr. Joseph Ekwe. You're welcome, sir. We have the Dean of the Faculty of Science of Benson Idahosa University and the Mayor of its legacy campus, Professor Kingsley Obayago. You're welcome, sir. We have the Dean of Students of Bensi Dahosa University, Professor Mabel Ehigiato. You're welcome, ma'am. We have the Director of Pre-Degree Programs of Bensi Dahosa University, Professor Taidi Ikrakene. You're welcome, sir. We have the Director of Part-Time Programs of Bensi Dahosa University, the next inaugural lecturer of Bensi Dahosa University, Professor Mark Osamagbe Ihile. We have the academic officer of Bensi Dahosa University, Mrs. Osalwe. You're welcome, ma'am. We have with us here today, gracing this occasion, we have Francis Ebima Ago, JB. You're welcome, sir. I'm sorry I wasn't giving you the titles. I'm going to call them. I just read one for you, right? A fellow and a life member of the Nigerian Institute of Management. Thank you for being here with us, sir. We also have the immediate past executive director of the Rubber Research Institute of Nigeria, Iyanomo, Dr. Agbodio. You're welcome, sir. We have the husband of the inaugural lecturer, Mr. Anthony Esimaje. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for giving us such a gift as Professor Alexandra Esimaje. Thank you. We have Mrs. Antonia Ufoma, sister of the inaugural lecturer. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. We have Engineer Osadolo Aiwowen. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much for being here today. We have the former Dean of the School of Postgraduate Studies, the one we call the Dean of Deans, Professor Babi Sani. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for being here. As other names get to us, we'll recognize and introduce them. I'd like to convey the very warm welcome of the President and the Vice Chancellor to everyone who is present here, including the distinguished students of Bensi Dahosa University. Please put your hands together for yourselves. I have the singular honor to now respectfully invite to the podium the convener of the inaugural lecture series of Bensi Dahosa University, Vice Chancellor and Chairman of the Senate of Bensi Dahosa University, Professor Sam Obadia.
The President of Bensi Dahosa University, Bishop Dahosa, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, the Bursar, the Librarian in charge, the Provost of the College of Medicine, all the Deans and Directors, all the HODs, distinguished guests, the great students of Bensi Dahosa University, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the 12th inaugural lecture of Bensi Dahosa University.
lectures are designed as very highly prepared academic exercises. The lecture provides a chance for all of us to learn, for the lecturer to articulate very strong academic positions. And these positions, once well articulated, benefit not just the immediate community of the university, but also the wider society. The inaugural lecture is a chance for professors to earn their wings, defend their professorships, a very important event for every academic of a professorial rank. We are lucky this afternoon to have a renowned professor of English, Professor Alexandra Esimaje, as our inaugural lecturer today. She will be speaking on a very important topic because war is much too serious to be left to the military. Corpus linguistics is a thing, and it is a very useful thing too. Did you people hear me? I don't know why many inaugural lecturers do this thing. Always trying to confuse everyone. We will know hopefully what this is about after the lecture. Professor Esimaje is one of the top professors in Benson Inaugural University, who has distinguished herself as a very competent academic, caring, always willing to reach out to her colleagues as well as the students we serve, so that together we all experience the great project called Benson Inaugural University. It is my pleasure this afternoon to present to this audience the inaugural lecture, and I'm going to invite the registrar to help me do this job, to present the lecturer and read her citation. And then after that, I would like everybody to listen carefully. At the end of the lecture, even though the topic sounded pretty difficult, I'm sure we would have learned something. I would like to call the registrar now to help us introduce the inaugural lecturer today and present the citation. Thank you.
May I respectfully invite the inaugural lecturer, Professor Alexandra Esimaje, to kindly stand. I will read her profile, Corpus Linguistics. But before that, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge and welcome the immediate past acting registrar of Benson University, Barrister Mrs. Nwokike. You're welcome, ma'am. Profile of Professor Alexandra Esimaje, AHP Fellow and Fellow VW. Alexandra Esimaje is a 1984 graduate of the English language from the prestigious University of Ilorin, where she graduated in second-class upper division and was awarded a certificate of excellence. She also obtained a Master's of Public Administration MPA degree from the same university in 1989. Later on, when her family moved to the northeastern part of the country, she enrolled in yet another very famous university, the University of Maiduguri, where she obtained another master's degree, now in the English language, and further registered for the PhD degree in the same university. However, due to the choice of her PhD research area, she proceeded to Lancaster University in the United Kingdom, where she conducted the PhD research as a visiting scholar. Her PhD, which is a product of the collaborative effort of the universities of Maiduguri and Lancaster, illustrates the globalization of education and demonstrates the value of institutional cooperation in research to broaden the researcher's horizon to thus enhance the quality of research outcomes. For 10 years, Alexandra Esimaje worked with the Federal Polytechnic Damaturu in the northeast of Nigeria, where she rose to the second highest rank of a principal lecturer, which is equivalent to associate professor. She was the head of the General Studies Department, which she had no less than 2,000 students. Due to her desire to peak in global education, she considered the Polytechnic a bit limiting and chose in 2006 to start her career afresh, this time in the university system. It was this decision and other factors that brought her to this university, Bensi Dahosa University, where she accepted a lecturer one position despite having occupied a much higher positions in previous employment and possessing much experience. The qualities of her perseverance and industry sustained her ambition to excel in the university system. Today, 16 years after her journey began in Bensi Dahosa University, Professor Esimaje has blazed many trails and proved her mettle in more ways than one. Moreover, she has obtained the height of not only a professor, but a distinguished one that is internationally acclaimed. I thought somebody would clap. Alexandra Esimaje is a professor of English and Applied Linguistics here in Bensi Dahosa University, where she has occupied administrative positions and is currently the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Education. She's also the founding director of the Center for Language Research and English Proficiency, an independent research center which is a mentoring platform for the continuous development of the academic writing skills of young academics in Africa. Apart from the regular organization of capacity building workshops, CLAREP contributes to the dissemination of research output through annual publications, CLAREP Journal of English and Linguistics, which is published in Berlin, Germany, and accessible online. Professor Esimaje is the chief editor of the journal, which is now in its 4th volume. Professor Esimaje has authored several books, such as Oral English and Grammar, and mastering English language skills, and has pioneered the production of some edited volumes, including Perspectives on the Humanities, a first script in honor of Professor Philip Igbafe, published in 2017. Corpus, Linguistics and African Englishes, published by John Benjamin in 2019, an African perspective on the teaching and learning of English in higher education, being published by Routledge in 2022. Currently, she is working on another book, Harangues to Heaven, Word, Power and Meaning in Pentecostal Sermons. As an output of her fellowship award from the African Humanities Program, AHP, of the American Council of Learned Society, ACLS, sorry, I'll take that again. Her books, Learning of English in Higher Education, being published by Routledge in 2022. Currently, she is working on another book, Harangues to Heaven, Word, Power and Meaning in Pentecostal Sermons, as an output of her fellowship award from the African Humanities Program, AHP, and of the American Council of Learned Society, ACLS. In addition, Professor Alexandra Esimaje has written and published over 60 articles in reputable local, national, and international journals to prove that her contributions to knowledge is worthy of this recognition. Professor Esimaje has had the privilege to pay academic/research visits to different universities abroad, such as Lancaster University, United Kingdom, Birmingham University, United Kingdom, the University of Munster, Germany, the University of Yaoundé, Cameroon, the University of Bui, Cameroon, the University of Witwatersrand, South Africa, the University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, amongst others. She has also enjoyed 3 main research grant awards. The African Humanities Program AHP Award from the Council of Learned Societies of New York, and 2 awards of the Volkswagen Foundation in Germany, a postdoctoral award, and a workshop grant for an African-wide capacity building project. Following these grants, she was awarded many ancillary funds for other research tasks, residencies, and conference attendance. The outcome of these academic and research development projects have been immersed, and the deliverables are both tangible and intangible. Some of the fields of academic interest to Professor Alexandra Esimaje are lexical semantics, English variation, second language acquisition, and corpus linguistics. Most of her research work are corpus-based. She has compiled 2 corpora, the Chris Oyahilome corpus, a specialized corpus which comprises 200 sermons, with 64,851 words, and a learner corpus, a 419,000 word corpus of Nigerian and Cameroonian English learner language, with a generous grant award from the Volkswagen Foundation in 2013 to 2016. She is one of the few corpus linguistics in Africa, and one of the very few in Nigeria. Professor Esimaje is a member of several professional bodies, including the British Association of Applied Linguistics, the International Computer Archives of Modern and Medieval English, the African Humanities Association, the American Name Society, the Business and Applied Society Sciences Academy of North America, the English Scholars Association of Nigeria, and the National Association of Teachers and Researchers of English as a second language, where she is the Vice President. Professor Alexandra Esimaje has been married for 37 years. To Mr. Anthony Fumilayo Esimaje, and they are blessed with 5 children and 3 grandchildren, with great-grandchildren on the way. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the 12th inaugural lecturer of Benson Idahosa University, Professor Alexandra Esimaje.
Thank you so very much, Registrar, and so sorry that this had to make you to sweat. That gives you an idea of what it takes to be a professor. Let me tell you that the choice of the date of this inaugural lecture is by divine providence. I had desired to give this lecture on the 18th of October, but for very good reasons, the university chose the 11th of October, and we worked towards the 11th of October, and I have given up the opportunity to tell you the story of 18, the number 18, until God said no, that this lecture will actually be given on the 18th of October. The number 18 holds a great significance for me. I met my husband when I was 18. And I was born on the 18th. My husband was equally born on the 18th. We had our first son on the 18th. I did my PhD defense on the 18th. I became a full professor in 2018. And today, on the 18th, I am here again. So, there is something about the 18th. I still don't know what it is. But surely, there is something about the 18th. 18 grandchildren. I claim it in Jesus' name. Yes. The president, Benson Idahosa University. The vice president, the vice chancellor, Benson Idahosa University. Past vice chancellors here present, whether physical or virtual. The members of the governing council here present. The principal officers of Benson Idahosa University. The provost, College of Medicine. Deans of faculties. Distinguished professors. Directors. Heads of departments, other eminent academic staff here present, heads of administrative and technical units, distinguished guests, friends, and family. My dear students, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, So we are seated here today to listen to the lecture because war is much too serious to be left to the military. Corpus linguistics is the thing, and it is a very useful thing too. I want to believe that many people are here today to know what it's about. And some people have asked me if this has to do with the military. You will find out very soon. But first of all, let me say that today is an exceedingly joyous day for me. I have the greatest pleasure and honor to have seated in this audience a host of dignitaries, professionals, academics, friends, and family for the sole purpose of celebrating one of their own. This is the very propitious occasion of the 12th inaugural lecture of Benson University, which I am most privileged to deliver. While this is an academic culture observed by all universities, I hold in my debt the Vice Chancellor, Professor Sam Gubadina, for the opportunity to deliver this lecture, and his foresight, which has created access for many young professors to fulfill this obligation in rapid succession these past months. One of the particularities of the inaugural lecture is that the lecturer pontificates and no one else has the right of reply. So then, come with me as I take you through my several journeys as an academic for over 20 years, but especially for the last 12 years. I somehow think that this is one day that failure to blow my trumpet will be tragic. So bear with me if you think it is unconventional to read my own profile. It is for a good cause. I was born to an accountant father, Benedict Chi Ijo, and an entrepreneur mother, Jane Onyemize, both of Ukuta in Imo State. I learned very early in life the values of distinction, diligence, tenacity, and commitment. The first two are due to my father via his professional ethics, and the second two due to my mother through the business values she imbibed. But all four are instrumental in shaping my academic and later research career. Driven by them, I pursued education from primary to secondary to university to the doctoral and postdoctoral levels with vigor and excellence. Now, all through these years that I pursued education, I had several influences. I want to talk about the first three influences out of the many. I had the opportunity or the privilege to have, while I was in the University of Illinois in 100 level through to 400 level, to have three native speakers of English teach me. The head of the department was Professor David Cook, and then in the department we had Mr. Peter Cook, and then there was Helen Parr, who was the author of the use of English book that I read in my 100 level and that shaped my career up to this day. Now the key point to take is this, or rather apart from history, I also had other lecturers who were themselves taught by native speakers of English. So the key point is this, that I had the privilege of being taught English by native speakers of English. But this is not the case today. In many departments of English and in many institutions of learning, you find that the teachers of English are themselves not taught by the native speakers of English. Yet, they are expected to teach British English, which they did not encounter, which they didn't have the opportunity to learn directly from the speakers of the language. And in fact, they believe themselves to be teaching British English. But the result is clear. If you check the actual performance of our students and our graduates, despite 16 years of exposure to the English language, you will know that there is a gap. This is why I argued that the target of acquiring British English, which our educational system set for our students, may be unrealistic and may be unattainable. And that is why I support the call for a paradigm shift from the exonormative approach to the endonormative approach, where we have to set our own standards rather than chase after the standards set for us by others. So there are some thoughts and questions that come from these academic influences. First of all is, if we set our own standard and we say that British English is no longer our standard, we are not lowering the standard by indigenizing the language that we inherited from the colonials. We are not. This was the point of Esimaje when he said that English language will be able to carry the weight of our African experience, but it will have to be a new English. If it is a new English, it's no longer the old. So, why do we cling to an elusive British English? Why are we in denial of a Nigerian English? Why are professors of English reluctant to codify the English that we use in this country? Why does the government lack the political will to accept and to institute Nigerian English as a medium of instruction in schools? Why? And then, why have we allowed others to fight a battle that is rightfully and solely ours? This is a war, of course, but it's a different kind of war. It's not the war I want to talk about, but I want to highlight it for attention. So we're here to talk about corpus linguistics, and so I want to share with you the influences that I've had of corpus linguistics. I want to take you back to the very beginning. My encounter with corpus linguistics was mere happenstance. It was not by design. I stumbled into it. One day I walked into the office of the then Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Education, late Professor Richard Masako, and I saw a book on his shelf, and that book was titled Corpus Linguistics, Investigating Language Structure and Use, published by Cambridge University Press in 1998. I was attracted to it because I like things that are unusual. I said, what is this about? What is corpus linguistics? He said, I don't know. So I borrowed the book from Professor Masako, and I kept it to this very day. When I read the book, each page that I read in that book, I found myself being consumed by the contents of the book. Before I could get to the middle of the book, I was certain that this is something that I would like to do. And so I went further online to search to understand more what corpus linguistics was about. And online, I stumbled upon a work by Mike Nelson of the University of Manchester, titled A Corpus-Based Study of Business English and Business English Teaching Materials, which was a PhD thesis. These two materials, or books, I would say, became the dictionaries, two dictionaries for me in the area of corpus linguistics. Now, even though I had started my PhD in the area of phonology, because my first book was in phonology, even though I had started a PhD in that area, I was convinced that corpus linguistics was what I wanted to do. And so I told my PhD supervisors that I wanted to do corpus linguistics. And of course, they also didn't know what that was about. Perhaps Professor Makata is online and is listening. He was my PhD supervisor. And Professor Amina Bashir, both of them are probably online listening at this moment. So because I had two supervisors, one in phonology, Professor Atta was in phonology, and the other one in gender studies, that's Professor Amina Bashir, the question was, how could I then do a PhD in corpus linguistics when my supervisors were not in that area? A legitimate question, I'm sure you will agree with me. I was advised against doing it. That because of who I am, I like to do what I believe. I said, no, I will do corpus linguistics. And so I had to search for a supervisor. The search for a supervisor took me all over the world, online of course, all over the world, searching for someone who is in that field and someone who will be willing to supervise the work. I wrote to so many people that I found their contacts online until one day that God himself smiled on me. A certain Dr. Paul Racing, as at that time, now professor of the Department of Statistics and Computing, Lancaster University in the UK, sent me a positive response and said, come, we will supervise this work. And so I had to go to the University of Lancaster. And when I got to the University of Lancaster, it was when I got to the University of Lancaster that I discovered that he was in the Department of Statistics and Computing. So I thought it was a mistake. My first visit, I said, I'm looking for Dr. Paul Race. He said, I'm Paul. I said, but this is the head of the Department of Statistics and Computing. He said, yes, that is me. I said, I think I'm in the wrong place. He said, no, you're not. You are in the right place. I am the one that invited you. I will chief supervise your research. And so I thought that I was in trouble already. I'm one of those that were so lucky to be admitted to the university system when you didn't need to have credit in mathematics to read English. So I was wondering how I was going to cope with someone in statistics and computing. But he became my lead supervisor. And he was also the director of the Center of Corpus Research in Lancaster University. While in that university and on that journey, the major problem that faces anyone that leads this country is funding, is accommodation. God provided someone who made my stay comfortable. Dr. Mohammed Adaya Salisu. He himself was a former PhD scholar in Lancaster University, after which he became a lecturer in the same university. So Mohammed Adaya and his dear wife Aisha gave me accommodation for the period of my stay, paid my fees to the university for the period of my stay. And so I said that when the Bible spoke about a friend that sticks closer than a brother, he was talking about this man, Dr. Mohammed Adaya Salisu, who is currently a member of the President's Economic Team. So I owe late Professor Richard Masako and Professor Mike Nelson the depth of discovery of the field of corpus linguistics. And I owe Dr. Paul Racing loads of appreciation for granting me access to the field. And I owe Dr. Mohammed Salisu Adaya gratitude for making my research stay at Lancaster possible. So that is actually the story of the beginning of my encounter with corpus linguistics. Now, this is Paul Racing, who invited me to the University of Lancaster and who supervised my project in corpus linguistics. This is Professor Geoffrey Leach, Emeritus Professor. Everyone in language should know him. This is the author of the book Introduction to Semantics, which we use as a dictionary to teaching semantics in Nigeria. He is a high-profile linguist, and he became my second mentor and supervisor while I was in Lancaster. So he taught me corpus linguistics as well. This is Professor Ulrike Goods, who became my partner on the second and major corpus linguistics project, which I carried out under the sponsorship of the Volkswagen Foundation for 3 years. Professor Ulrike Goods, I'm sure she's online, is the chair of linguistics in the Department of English, University of Munster, Germany. And this is Professor Susan Hanston. Susan Hanston also was my partner on that project. She was the chair of the Department of English and Linguistics, Birmingham University in the UK. I'm sure the President and Vice Chancellor will remember her. I invited her to Benson in the Hausa University when we had a conference, and she honored that invitation because we had become long-term friends and partners. Because the project had covered Nigeria and Cameroon, I needed a collaborator partner in Cameroon. Professor Daniel Nkemlek is a trusted friend and a good corpus linguist. I don't need to look at the screen behind me to tell you that he is right there. Now, what you are looking at is the Chinese University of Hong Kong. This is the ICAM conference of 2016. Now, corpus linguistics is like law, where when you venture into it, you need to be called to bar. And to be called to bar in corpus linguistics means to belong to the most notable association of corpus linguists. I tried several times to belong to this association, and a number of times I failed to. I sent them abstracts many times, and they turned it down. The conference is every 2 years. At a point, I spoke to Susan Hanston, because she's a high-profile member of the Corpus Linguistics Association. I asked her to introduce me to this association. She said, okay, bring your abstract, I'll co-author it. I sent her an abstract, she co-authored it. I sent it to ICAM, the conference name is ICAM, and it came back also rejected. But I said, no way, that's not the kind of God that we serve. We don't give up at all. So I said, I must continue, I must be inducted into Corpus Linguistics School. In 2016, eventually, it happened. That is why this is a cherished memory. If you look at this screen, this is the Chinese University of Hong Kong. By the way, Hong Kong is a very, very beautiful country. And anything Chinese has finesse. So this university has finesse as well. So it was at this university that I was welcomed, received, and inducted into ICAM. And today, I am a member of ICAM. You know, I didn't know that I had achieved so much in corpus linguistics until recently. I received an invitation from ICAM to be a keynote speaker at the next ICAM conference, which will be taking place in South Africa in May. And they said, come, tell us about corpus linguistics in Africa. Because actually you can't talk about corpus linguistics in Africa without the mention of Alexandra Esimaje. And she's one of your own. So it was in Hong Kong that I met the next mentor, Professor Douglas Biber, commonly called Doug, of the University of North Arizona University, of the North Arizona University. Also a mentor and a very high-profile linguist. If you want to compare the list of linguists in the world, Professor Biber will make the top 5 lists. So I met him in Hong Kong. And it was easy for him to remember me because at the Hong Kong conference, there were only 2 blacks. So we were conspicuous. We were visible. I hope for the good reasons this time around. So he remembered me. So when I came up with the idea to write a book on corpus linguistics and African Englishes, which is the very first kind, I contacted Dr. Biber, and he graciously agreed to write a foreword to the book. So he mentored me in the area of corpus linguistics as well. And I thank him, Doc. I thank you very much. Professor Joseph Schmid was the head of the Department of Linguistics in the Technical University of Chemnitz in Germany. He too was a mentor and worked with me on certain corpus linguistics projects. Professor Betsus Barui is another partner on corpus linguistics and African English project, a research partner and someone that I have much respect for and a good mentor. Now, Dr. Angie Timoski, that name is Angie, I used to call it Andres. Dr. Angie Timoski is not a corpus linguist, but the story of corpus linguistics, my story in corpus linguistics, may have started somehow with him, because he is the director of the international programs of the American Council of Learned Societies that awarded me the first grant to do a corpus linguistic research. So that's why he's making this list. And I've been working with him from 2010 to 2022. He's in New York. Professor Brigitte Reinvard is a professor of history at Frankfurt University in Germany. She worked with me for 3 years on that major corpus linguistic project which I conducted and which was sponsored by the Volkswagen Foundation. She's the coordinator of that, and so she stands here to represent the foundation that awarded me that grant. Professor Vincent Uchechibu, I know too that you are there, is the director of consultancy in Redeemers University. He's a professor of physics. Why is he here? The first time I heard the word grant, I heard it from his mouth. We met on the bus in Lancaster, we got talking, we discovered that we're both Nigerians. He was in Lancaster on 2 grants, and I was in Lancaster on no grants. So he asked me, what grants are you on? I said, grants? I'm not sure I know what you mean. And he explained to me. I discovered that in the office we occupied, which was called Crossing Borders, I was the only one who was there and who didn't have a grant. So they asked me, did your university sponsor you? I said, somehow, since you didn't have a grant. So it was from him I heard that. And he told me you can win a grant. I asked him to teach me how. And he taught me how, even though he's in physics. So that's why he's here. Professor Vincent Uchechi. And this is the man that gave me accommodation and paid my fees. That is also why he's here. So the point is this. If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of these men and women. I borrowed that phrase from Isaac Newton. Let me show you what I saw. Because war is much too serious to be left to the military. Corpus linguistics is a thing, and it is a very useful thing too. Why this topic? Why this topic? Let's see. I'd like to consider 2 reasons why I've chosen this topic. First is the issue of context and language. Second is the issue of war in education and about education. So we're looking at 2 kinds of war. I want to talk about language and context. I had an experience at a time when I visited the University of Lancaster. I encountered a particular expression in a very formal context, and that expression is different than. I said different than. I found it quite odd. How can you say that this is different than this? As a teacher, if I encounter such a sentence in the script of a student, I will immediately circle it, and then I will mark down for replacement with from, to have the expression different from, which I consider to be the correct expression. But this expression, I heard it from a professor of English, a native speaker professor of English. So I thought I should find out, what does this mean? So I approached the professor of English and I said, I'm not used to this expression. Is it right? He said, I could write that. I could write that. But if you want to know what is correct, search it. I said, search it where? He said, go online. I said, online? He said, yes, online. Go online and find out what is most acceptable. Find out how many people use different than and how many people use different from. I said, that's so. He said, yes. So I went online. And I found that we had more people using different from than different than. So I went back to him, aesthetic, thinking he would say, you are right. He said, well, you can go with different from, but I can write different than. So I became confused. And I asked the question, what determines correct usage? Is it the teacher? Is it the grammar books? Is it the user or student? Or is it the internet? Because he told me to go to the internet. Now here, the internet represents a corpus. It represents a corpus, which is a collection of language, attested language, or language that occurred, or language that is in use. That is what the corpus is. So the internet itself is a mega corpus. So if you want to know what a word means, someone can say, go to the internet. So several questions then came up in my mind. how do we consider the factor of grammaticality and acceptability? What is acceptable may not be grammatical, and what is grammatical may not be acceptable. But in corpus linguistics, they say that you should use what is acceptable, not necessarily what is grammatical. So there was that question. So there was also the question of prescriptivism. Are we going to be prescriptive or descriptive? In corpus linguistics, we don't prescribe. We don't say that this is how it ought to be used. We say that this is how it is used. And so corpus linguistics contributes to resolving the paradox between grammaticality and acceptability. So in effect, the teaching of anything in language should not be left to the teacher alone, just as war should not be left to the military alone. So I chose this topic to address this possibility, and my fervent hope is that I should be able to show you how. That's one reason. The second reason I chose this topic is because of the wars that are in education and the wars about education. And this has to do with standards and performance, and also has to do with the negotiations that go on in education. I said at the beginning that perhaps the policy of this country to teach British English may be unrealistic standards and unattainable standards. So we have the issue of standards here. We have the conflict of standards. The standard that we chase after, and the standard that we have, and the standard that we can achieve or we can attain. So that conflict presents a kind of war in the educational system. That's one kind of war. And then we have the war of inadequate learning. How that students don't learn enough. How that our graduates don't learn enough. I don't need to tell you that there's a war in the area of poor performance, which is why you have miracle centers. Which is why parents can come together to say, what do we do to help our students? Why is coming? We know that they will need help. That is why students will contribute money. And if a school that has charged them very high school fees, they still contribute money and give them to ensure that their children pass. Is that not a war? And then you have the wars of poor infrastructure. You have war in the area of faulty remedial measures. So you have remedial schools, you have summer schools, you have extended schools, you have to pay. Those are remedial measures, and many of them are faulty. And you can tell that they are faulty because you have examination malpractices, you have sorting, you have so many things going on. But we also have wars in the area of negotiations about education. For instance, the ASU strike, that is a war. The negotiation that is going on between the government and academic staff union of Nigerian universities is endless, but it is also needless, because we need to know that education needs to be funded. We have the war that is going on, the war that concerns the exclusion of private universities from certain funding initiatives, like TED Fund. We have the war in the area of accreditations, the goal and underachievement. We have the war. We have the war. And so they come and they see that things are not what they're supposed to be. And then their report shows that those things are the way they're supposed to be. We have the war in the area of fake universities and fake certificates from genuine universities. And we have the war of northbound trains. Every train is bound to the north. Every train is leaving here, going to the north. Everyone wants a visa here to the United States, to Canada. That is the northbound train. And it is a war for educational institutions because we are being drained. So when I considered all these wars, I came up with the following crystallizing thoughts on this war. First, how graduating are our graduating students? How graduating are they? How remediating are remedial programs? Why do graduates of some courses feel their stay at university was a waste of time? Why are employers now interested in skills, not certificates? Why is there a lack of correspondence among learning needs, teaching content, and teaching materials? Why do we use British and American curricula in Nigerian schools? Are you training your children for America and for Britain? And why do university lecturers teach rather than lecture? I hope you know that when you teach, the responsibility of learning outcomes is that of the teacher. And when you lecture, the responsibility of learning outcomes is that of the students. But we teach instead of lecture because we know that lecturing will not be fruitful. Even the students, to teach them, you're required to do even more than teaching. How can you transit to lecturing? I want to ask, is anyone here still in doubt that there is a war in education? And that teachers, or lecturers, if you want to be called that, are limited in every way for this battle. So my argument is this. This generation of students and graduates are greatly endangered. So is the society. And the fact is this. Not all of this war that I've enumerated can be fought in the university. Even in the university. The war cannot be left to the teacher alone. Otherwise, there will be more wars. This is my argument. Now come with me as we consider its evidence and the corpus linguistic solutions. I'm sure you're wondering, what is corpus linguistics? I'll tell you now. And I'll tell you by making a distinction between corpus and corpus linguistics. So, if we talk about a corpus, we're simply talking about a collection of language data. A collection of language data which is machine readable, which is authentic, which is sampled to be representative of a particular language or language variety. So it is not any language data that is a corpus. It must be machine readable, it must be authentic text, which means it occurred, and sometimes it has to be true. For instance, I am not the Vice Chancellor of Benson University. So no one could have said that. So it's not an authentic text. In corpus linguistics, we include texts that are authentic, that occurred, that are naturally occurring. And then it must be sampled to be representative of a particular language variety. That brings me to the metaphor of how do you fetch water from an ocean to ensure that that cup of water represents the ocean. Do you fetch it from one particular spot? Will that be representative? The answer is no. So you fetch from that corner. Fetch from that, you fetch from this corner, you fetch from that corner, you fetch from the middle. And then when you put it together, it becomes representative of that ocean. That's what we do in corpus linguistics. We ensure that the data is representative of the population from which it is taken. And that is why corpus linguistics is a science. Because it's very objective. You can replicate, you can find the same results because you follow that same method. That's why I love corpus linguistics, because I'm scientific minded. Don't mind that I did not pass mathematics. All right. So corpus linguistics, therefore, is simply any kind of language inquiry which relies on corpus data or corpus evidence for answering any question about language. That's what it is. There are a number of claims about corpus linguistics, a number of claims. For instance, corpus linguistic methods corpus linguistic method is said to be opening up exciting possibilities which couldn't have been possible without corpus linguistics. And then, corpus linguistics has shaken the foundation of language because, due to the result of corpus linguistics, former theories in language are being challenged. Former results are being challenged. And then some of them are being pensioned off. Pensioned off, which means they are no longer tenable, because new evidence has proved that those ideas behind those theories are no longer tenable. So we say in corpus linguistics that the movement of tectonic plates have been thrust up, has thrust up Himalayas where before there was level ground. And that is very, very crucial. Only those of you in language will understand what I just said. Now, corpus linguistics proved that linguistics was formed on inadequate evidence because of the shortage of information and the lack of evidence. So if you form a particular theory based on inadequate evidence, what happens when sufficient evidence is made available? You will find that that theory can no longer be sustained. So most of what we know about language are speculations. They are not founded on evidence. And this is because man's ability to remember or to recall is limited. But now the computer, along with its access software, has changed all of that. So in order to do corpus linguistics, you must have corpora. Corpora is the plural of corpus, and it simply means data, different kinds of data. So we have as many as 8 kinds of corpora, but I listed only 3 because these are the 3 that I have worked with and that I have compiled. The general corpus, which is just a collection of any kind of data, systematic collection of any kind of data, or the specialized corpus, which is data relating to one type of language variety, or the learner corpus, which is a collection of text produced by the learners of a language. Trying to be fast. Why is corpus linguistics a field that we are proud of, that we boast of? Why do we say that it is a field that produces knowledge that is reliable? It's because of the corpus design. So every corpus is designed using particular parameters. So the researcher cannot decide on his own to compile a corpus in his own way. No, it must obey the design for compiling a corpus. And that's what you have on the screen. At the beginning of the compilation, you must be able to answer 4 questions. What goes into the corpus? Size, how large or how small? Balance, how do you ensure that different parts of the corpus are balanced, that you don't have more of A than B? How do you ensure that? And then representativeness, what I told you. How do you ensure that the full variability of the population is reflected in the sample? And then we have corpus annotation, which has to do with the enrichment of a corpus. I'm not going to spend so much time on this because this is a mixed audience, so I don't bore you with the technical terms in corpus linguistics. And then we have the following available corpora. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are much more than this. And then you have the software that goes with the corpus. Now, corpus linguistics has very many applications. Because this is a 1-hour lecture, I can't tell you about all the applications. But I can only tell you that you can apply corpus linguistics in second language learning, in teaching and learning, and it's on that that I'm going to specify or focus. You can apply it to language education as well. You can apply it to forensic studies. You can determine who wrote a particular name without the name. You can go to court with a forensic linguist to find out the authorship of a particular text that was written anonymously. You can do all of that. And you can use it to compile dictionaries and do translation studies. But I want to talk about corpus linguistics in the area of language teaching and learning, where it is a thing and where it is a very useful thing, and where it helps us to fight the wars in education. Perhaps not the wars about education, but those that are in education. This is what Professor H said about the corpus, that the corpus, purely as a resource, is rather like a shelf in a university library. It is there to be exploited, and the same resources are equally usable for research and teaching. I thought I should read that out so we understand that if you do not utilize, exploit, or explore a corpus, then it's of no use at all. So if you're a teacher of English, and then you are not able to use language teaching corpora, then again it is useless. And then the benefits of corpora in language teaching are very many and they are immense. For example, it enables mediated learning, which means that the student becomes the teacher. I'm sure you are wondering, how does a student become a teacher? I'll show you soon. It enables the automatic searching of data at speed. When I was doing my PhD and I decided to work on the sermons of Pastor Chris, the first thing that I did was to digitize 800 of his sermons. Oh yes, I digitized 800 of his sermons. It took a long time, I will tell you that. And then, after digitizing these sermons, I sampled and I took 200 out of the sermons, ensuring that the variability in the population were all taken care of. So when it got to the time of exploring that corpus to answer certain questions about the language of sermons, the question was, how will I read all these sermons? When will I finish reading all these sermons? If I started reading those sermons, perhaps by now I will still be reading them. But this is the wonder of corpus linguistics. Because I had made the data machine readable, I instructed the computer to read it for me, and the computer read it in seconds. And so during my PhD defense, the question came as to how did you read these sermons to come up with all these results? And I simply said, I didn't read them, the computer did. And one man got up and said that this is a blunder that you have committed right now. This is a great minus in this research. How can you say that you did not read your data? I said that is the point I'm trying to make. That's the point I'm trying to make. That you can automatically search data at speed. You can ask the computer to read it for you. And this is what we do in corpus linguistics. So the energy of the researcher is diverted to interpreting the patterns which the computer will throw out, and you achieve something so much in so little a time. And so, corpus linguistics promotes learner-centered learning with flexibility of place, of course, of time, yes, and learner needs. And of course, it is an open-ended supply of language data which encourages discovery learning. So, but we know that the computer does not and cannot think. So the computer is an idiot on its own. The computer does not and cannot think. But the researcher can. And since the researcher understands the data, if he effectively directs the computer, reliable results will emerge. And this was what I did. So the computer maximizes the potential of the teacher or researcher, enhances its output, enlarges the utility of the machine, and allows for the benefits of the cross-fertilization of ideas. So it is the computer that can make the student the teacher, and I'm going to show you soon how that can happen. But you know that this is not the case in many African contexts, especially in Nigeria. And that is why when I took a survey of the involvement of people in computer linguistics and in computer-based research in Nigeria, this was what I saw. 84.8% of the people that responded to that survey this year, 2022, responded negatively to having corpus linguistics being part of the school curriculum. 84.8%. In Nigerian universities said, we don't teach corpus linguistics in our universities. And then 71.2% said they don't have exposure to corpus linguistics. This year, 66%, 66.7% said they don't have a knowledge of corpus linguistic methods. And then 53% said we don't have a knowledge of language teaching corpora. Those that don't use corpora in the classroom, 80.3%. Those that do not use corpora in their personal research, 68.2%. Those who are interested in corpus linguistics, 97%. Some of them are here listening to me. 97%. And so, the implications are this. The linguistic communities in Nigeria are grossly underrepresented in this area of research, and they are therefore underserved as well. Now, those linguistic investigations that are only possible through corpus methods remain unattended and untapped, because it's only through corpus methods that you can do that. So we can't achieve that. But worse still is the fact that not only that inadequate knowledge is transferred to students, relevant knowledge is lost both to students and to society. And a host of reasons can be responsible for all of this. And there are a number of challenges in the use of corpus linguistics in our educational institutions. You can see some of them on the screen. But it is my hope that this university will join the 13.6% of institutions that included corpus linguistics in their curriculum to do so. And that will help us to remedy the already deep-seated loss. It will help us to open new vistas of knowledge about different aspects of language, both for the learners and their useful applications to society. I'm going to talk about the utility of the learner corpus so you can see how it can convert the students to the teacher. This is not quite clear, but this is a learner production. This is the text produced by a learner, so this is part of learner corpus. And if you can see clearly, the areas marked in red and the areas marked in blue are identifying two kinds of errors found in the script of these students. This is the script, that was a secondary school student. This is a university student. You can also see the areas that are tagged. This is a Nigerian university learner. And this is a Cameroon university learner. You can also see the areas that are tagged. And now, if we want to take a look at a diachronic view of learning, which is where this is very important for the teachers. If we have teachers in the secondary or primary or even here in this university, you can track the learning of your students from 100 level to 400 level. And so you can put them side by side to find out how much learning has occurred and how much learning failed to occur. So if you look at those data, you have the following topics. Is there evidence of advanced learning of English? If no, what are the reasons? Is it the teaching content, materials, or delivery? Or how can learning be tackled, learning deficiencies be tackled? How does a teacher select the content to teach? That particular data that is annotated will teach you how to select the content to teach. And then, to what extent do teaching contents align with curricula, and curricula with learning needs, and learning needs objectively determined. I think I'm going to pause here to tell you a story. Powerful. Because I'm also sweating like bricks. This is a story of how I was conceived a male child, but born a female. Oh yes. You see, being the fourth female child of my mother in a male-dominated culture, where female children are not really counted, and in the home of an only child, the most prized legacy is the sustainability of the family name. The female child was not a part of this equation. Therefore, having a fourth female child was a tragedy. But that was not going to be the case, my mother thought. When she conceived me, I was different from the womb. I was prophesied to be a male child. The tibia was always right. Then the moment of truth came, I was born a female. As I was growing up, I was gowned. I was deep voiced, I still am. Ambitious, disciplined, independent, and daring. So my mother went back to the GBA. My very sad mother went back to the GBA. The GBA gave the verdict. The child was changed to female in the womb by witches and wizards. It sounded very bizarre to me while I was growing up, and I thought it was a fairy tale until I needed to fill the gaps. So at last, there was another world, the spiritual and the invisible, which controls the physical. In this very world that I'm in, I am happy to be in the field. Perhaps in the next world, a change will be in order. Mr. Vice Chancellor, distinguished guests, honorable colleagues, and residents of Benson International University, I want to present to you now the second part of this lecture, the account of my academic outputs to prove my contribution to resolving the war in education, especially. The question is, what are my specific contributions? This is what every inaugural lecture should answer. What are my specific contributions? Cornerstone is the first level couple that has been compiled by anyone in the countries of Nigeria and Cameroon. The very first, it was compiled by me. Now, what that means is that anyone that wants to research language does not need to look for the data. I have provided data for that. And not just data, but one that is authentic, one that is valid, and one that can be exploited in very many ways. And this is how I compile it. I think it's important to show you, so you understand how scientific and how objective Corpus linguistics is. So I use the PAX software. That's a platform for annotating corpus in XML. And it went through these 5 stages. You start by collecting raw data, you create a template for them, you transcribe the data, you annotate the data, and then you build the corpus, and then you ship the corpus. This is science in the humanities. So this is a screenshot of the PAX process. Unfortunately, this screen is not big enough, so you can't see. Both the data and the metadata can be seen here. And then you see the categories of the students on the left. What you're looking at is data from a senior secondary student from the south of Nigeria. So you can see directly what the student wrote, you can see how it was digitized, you can see how we annotated it, you can see the difficulties that this student will have in learning English. Learning difficulties differ from region to region. The difficulty a child from Warri will have is not the same difficulty that a child from Benin will have. It's not the same difficulty that a child from Abeokuta will have. It's not the same difficulty as a child from Imo State will have. But our curriculum does not make this distinction. So you use the same books to teach them. You use the same curriculum to teach them. The same content to teach them. So some persons learn and some don't learn because the curriculum and the content may be targeting the need of the child from Ogomosho and is not targeting the need of the child from Omaro, or not targeting the need of the child from Benin City. So that is a problem already. That's a problem already. And I have had to conduct a number of case studies based on this data. They are on the screen, they are in the book, you buy them, you read them. So I'm not going to waste time on them. So what I'm trying to say is that corpus evidence is important in teaching and learning. It is important in textbook writing. It is corpus evidence that should tell the textbook writer what to put in the textbook. You don't write a textbook for students. You find what the students need before you write a textbook. But you know that that is not the system in this country. And that is why students are reading books and not becoming better. You first of all get corpus evidence that tells you the learning needs of the student before you write a book for the student. It's not the other way around. Research has proved, for instance, Douglas Biber and his colleagues, that what we find in textbooks does not align with what the students need, and so the books are useless, and then the students read the books and do not learn. And then you also see that the evaluation of learner needs must be corpus-based, and then the performance assessment needs corpus evidence. I wish I had the time to tell you how someone conducted performance evaluation in Kenya and declared Kenya over 70% illiterate, and the Minister of Education went after that professor. I hope they are not here. And then the second contribution that I made is this book, Corpus Linguistics and African Englishes. This is, up to today, the only book in existence in the world, I'll tell you that, in the world that puts together all researches on African Englishes. This immediately tells you that there is no one English. So you deceive yourself. If you think you're speaking English, ask yourself, which of Englishes am I speaking? Which of Englishes am I speaking? So this book puts together all such research, all such descriptions of English in Ghana, English in Kenya, English in Gambia, English in Nigeria, etc. to make the point that there is no one English but many. I led the research on this book. I want to make only one point about the authorship because there is no time. One point I want to make about this authorship. Now, this book is about African Englishes, isn't it? So, which means it is more about Africa than Europe. And then there are 14 chapters in this book. Out of the 14 chapters in this book, only 5 were written by Africans. Out of these 5 written in Africans, 3 of us are Nigerians. Out of the 3 of us that are Nigerians, I'm the only one living in Nigeria. What this means is this. African Englishes were described by non-native Africans. To underscore the point that I made, that we are underrepresented and underserved in this field. But it gives me a concern. So there are 3 issues which I must mention here. So there is the issue of perspective in education. What perspective do we prioritize? Do we prioritize our perspective, African perspective, Nigerian perspective, or do we prioritize the perspective of the global north? And then there is the issue of the coloniality of knowledge. All these are different kinds of words. The coloniality of knowledge. Who creates what knowledge and for what purpose? And who determines the relevance or irrelevance of knowledge? How do we measure knowledge? What skills do we use? Is it local skills here or skills that are important? But there is also the question of silent and unheard voices. So consider the issue of gatekeeping. So we'll work here, we'll research here, we'll publish here, and no one listens. So they don't even know what you have done. So your voice is not heard because that work cannot be published in such other places, again, because there are exclusion skills. So you have the exclusion skills of formats. What is the format for your article? Did you use IMRAD? Certain journals will not accept the article if you don't use the IMRAD structure. Introduction, method, results, and discussion. And that is not quite our structure in the humanities. So if you send your article to a particular place and it doesn't have IMRAD, it's excluded. And so your voice remains silent. And how about the domiciles of knowledge? How about the domiciles of knowledge? Scopus. If your work is not in Scopus, you do not count. If your work is not in, all of them, ingenta, then that knowledge does not count. The question I ask is, who made those decisions and for what purpose? Who made those decisions? So we have these issues. I'm going to run now. I want to tell you, yes sir. I want to tell you about what I consider to be my greatest contribution to knowledge. Not here in Bexley University alone, not in Nigeria alone, but worldwide. search my name, you understand what I'm talking about. When I established the Center for Language Research and Linguistic Proficiency 5 years ago, this was what I had in mind. To have a platform for training academics worldwide, and especially in Africa. So it was on this platform that I brought 5 countries to Nigeria for a workshop to train them. And we did the opening ceremony right here in this hall so that we can prove that we can set the pace. So this is who we are in class. So we aim to raise both academics and professionals who are globally relevant to solving language-related problems, and we have done that a number of times. So this is what we do. We collaborate in research, we train, we mentor, we do academic networking, we publish, and we do educational consultancies. If you look at this particular picture here, you have 30-something persons in this picture. Those 30-something persons represent 30-something universities that came together on the platform of CLAREP. And these persons were drawn not only from Nigeria, but from across Africa. If that is not a hallmark achievement, I don't know what is. And you can see the president here, very happy with that achievement. You see the vice chancellor here, very happy with that achievement. You see the university librarian here, very happy. And then the bursar is here, and then the former registrar is here. So this is what we do in CLAREP. We also have readers clubs in Benin City and in Abuja, contributing to knowledge, trying to catch them young. And then we have our publications in CLAREP. All these books you see, we are published on the platform of CLAREP. So we contribute to knowledge, contribute to dissemination of information as well. This is the executive team of CLAREP. And then there are so many other stories, so many other works that I am also working on. I want to pause again to tell you a very short story. A very short story. Please permit me to tell you this story. That's the last story I'm going to tell you. But you need to listen to this story. The president, you need to listen to this story. Now the second story is how I got to the pinnacle of education. It is how I became a teaching professor. It is how and why you are seated in this audience today, listening to the inaugural lecture. This is the story of my grandmother, Osa, and my father, Benedict Chi, and me, Alexandra Osa. This is the story of how I became the reincarnation of my grandmother and the fulfillment of her dream for herself and for her father's and my father's dream for me. You see, I was born of an illiterate grandmother who traveled to Port Harcourt with a basin containing her clothes on her head and arrived at the motor park to ask the drivers the way to Ben's house. My son Ben, she told them delightfully. She had thought that Port Harcourt was like a village where everyone knew everyone. So due to the series of such moments and situations which she caused with her actions, and looking at the lives of those who were educated, she had a dream, and she said, in my next world, I will get to the end of education. After my grandmother died, shortly after she died, I was born. The oracle spoke, that's Divya. The oracle spoke again and said that I was Ozaku reincarnated. Immediately, I was given the name Ozaku, which means where there is wealth. It's not a surprise that I'm rich, is it? So I was named Ozaku, and my father transferred both the love and respect she had for her mother to me, and called me mommy until she died. He never called me by my name. And he charged me to fulfill my grandmother's wish and to realize his own dream for me. He called me Grace. So, Papa is there. This day is for you, a promise fulfilled. I am Professor Alexandra Oza. I am internationally acclaimed, and today I am being celebrated for making a zenith mark. So I want to conclude in 2 minutes. Yes. So the educational system in Nigeria is beset by wars of different kinds, which endanger education and limit its outcomes. And these wars are occasioned by the issues of wrong standards, unrealistic learning outcomes, inadequate learning, poor performances, faulty assessment, wrong classroom practices, and many, many others. And corpus linguistics represents one of the effective ways of resolving some of these words. And we have seen that Nigerian academies are grossly underrepresented in fighting this war. We have also seen, I believe you have seen from this lecture so far, the benefits of corpus linguistics. I don't want to repeat them for want of time. And so I recommend for linguistic communities to invest resources, time and resources in the acquisition of corpus methods, tools, and to inspire the drive for corpus research in both themselves and their students. I have a recommendation for educational stakeholders to include corpus linguistics in their core curriculum and to provide research infrastructure, among other recommendations. And I have a recommendation for Benson Idahosa University. Establish a corpus linguistics center and be credited with the incalculable contribution of providing a platform for the production of reliable and functional knowledge, cross-fertilization of ideas and multidisciplinarity, the achievement of the complementarity of man and machine. Let us be the first. Let's blaze the trail, as always. Acknowledgements. Very brief. Now, as I undertook these journeys, I had behind me a great number of persons. All of them are special in many ways, and they are major parts of this story, which time did not permit me to tell you in full. But I must make special mention of the following. My husband, who bore with joy the burden of my academic and research escapades. Some of you know this. The depths of his accommodation and trust are unparalleled. I'll tell you that. So today, Tony, I thank you for staying with me against all odds and for completing my story. My loving children, their spouses, and my wonderful grandchildren, all of you are great and momentous chapters in my life, without which today would not have been. My extended family, friends, and colleagues, I thank you for playing different roles while this journey lasted. The President, Right Reverend Dr. Femi Dahosa, for whom I have profuse admiration. And because my journey to this university and in this university began with him, and for his continual honest praises, I thank you. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Sam Gobadia, I thank you for believing in me. I thank you for the several opportunities that you have given me. I thank you for discovering me. You may not know what that means. I am exceedingly grateful for your many contributions to this day, Domus. The many giants and mentors on whose shoulders I stood and stand, I remain in your debts. The board of directors of CLAREP, especially Professor Uche Buenegio, who I'm sure is watching from Australia, for believing in my vision, and for taking this journey with me these past 5 years. I thank you. My God and Father, for his towering presence, boundless strength, diverse favors, unwavering love, and countless miracles, I give him utmost praise and honor for making all of this happen. But I cannot fail to thank you, highly esteemed audience. I can't say that you did well, you did river, you did ocean. It's more than well. For leaving everything that you have to do to come here to listen to this lecture, to celebrate me. I only hope that I have not disappointed you. And for all those who are not here but will later read this lecture and who have been instrumental to this day, please forgive me if I omitted your name. It is surely the error of the head, not of the mind. I thank you specially. Thank you. And God bless you.
Please put us together for the lecture again once more. Thank you very much. Please put them together for President of this afternoon. It's my pleasure to bring on stage the Vice Chancellor to take the summary of this lecture this afternoon. This is
Okay, we have heard the star lecturer today. The topic she covered, just to say quickly one more time, because war is much too serious to be left to the military. Corpus linguistics is a thing, and it is a very useful thing too. The job of the chairman of the inaugural lecture, the event, is to summarize. You will not believe how my brain was working there. But I think she did a wonderful job. Please give her another round of applause. The lecturer defines corpus as a collection of written or spoken material occurring naturally, stored on computer, and typically used to carry out some kinds of linguistic analysis, while corpus linguistics is any kind of language inquiry which relies on corpus data or corpus evidence to answer questions about language. Although corpus linguistics has very many applications in language studies, the lecture focused on the application to language teaching and learning, and argues that there are several wars in education and about education. These wars are demonstrated by the systemic issues involving wrong standards, unrealistic learning objectives, inadequate learning, poor performances, faulty assessments, wrong classroom practices, insufficient institutional infrastructure, poverty and its allied factors, the merchandising of education, poorly formulated and implemented educational policies, and the endless but needless negotiations of education between stakeholders such as the government and academic staff unions of higher educational institutions. Who would have thought these are the wars mentioned in her topic? They are indeed wars. All poor policies, strikes, inadequate facilities, refusing to embrace evolving educational trends, low regard for pedagogy. All of these, the lecturer argues, are responsible for the endangerment of education in Nigeria today, and by implication, the wider society. The lecturer argues that not all of these wars can be fought in the educational institutions, and even the particular wars about teaching and learning, which directly faces educational institutions, are beyond the capability of the teachers, and argues, among others, for new methods of teaching the old knowledge and the utility of the new knowledge that arise due to the new methods. The lecture posits that in the language fields, corpus linguistics represents a new effective way of teaching and learning, an open sesame of proving significance which has taken language research to heights never imagined and has resulted in the querying of old ideas about language and leading to new and invaluable knowledge about language. Most of all, the lecturer advised that corpus linguistics contributes to fighting some of the wars of inadequate teaching and learning, and advocates the complementarity of man and machine in order to optimize education through the cross-fertilization of ideas. The lecturer presents the major advantages of corpus linguistics to include: 1, it enables observation of fast language beyond the ability of human observation and beyond the capability of human memory, while increasing research speed without sacrificing content. 2, Corpora, along with its access software, is the necessary companion of the researcher. It makes his work easier, faster, better, and more reliable, but it relies on the intuition of the researcher to be meaningful. 3, it enables the promotion of learner-centered learning with flexibility of place, time, and the learner needs. Open-ended supply of language data to encourage discovery, method of learning, and tailoring learning to adapt to the needs and wishes of the learner. The lecturer identifies some of the outcomes of corpus research, such as translations of languages, writing of grammars, production of dictionaries, use of the World Wide Web as a classroom, use of the resources of the web to research and teach, use of the web as a mega corpus, use of corpus evidence for error analysis and remediation, self-directed learning by learners, use of corpus evidence for producing teaching materials, curriculum, and textbooks. The lecturer demonstrated that despite the importance of corpus linguistics and its wide use in academic communities in the advanced countries or the global north, it is yet to take root in the developing countries, the global south. Especially in Nigeria, she said, which has a minute representation in the field, and to whom the gains of the field are almost completely lost, while the language learner is grossly underserved. She therefore calls attention to the field and recommends the establishment of Corpus Linguistics Center. Thank you, you said it when the bishop was here. In the Benson in Ahosa University. And I want to be the first to congratulate Professor Esimaje for this wonderful lecture. What do you think? A very, very difficult topic, and I think she did justice to it. I have been impacted, and I'm sure the rest of you have been impacted. From your performance today, Professor Esimaje, and as Vice Chancellor of Benson Idahosa University, and the chairman of this inaugural lecture, I'm delighted to welcome you to the club of eminent professors of Benson Idahosa University. You have clearly defended your professorship. Once again, congratulations. She has stepped forward. I will need the crew to assist me to bestow on her the medallion as the 12th inaugural lecturer, and senior professor of Benson Idahosa University. Okay, the tradition each time we have these lectures is to invite the previous inaugural lecturers. All of you come on stage. And we would also like to invite the families, the immediate family of Professor Esimaje to be part of this. All the inaugural lecturers, please come. Okay.
Please, the Esimaje should come on stage.
Professor Alexandra Esimaje. It is my honor this afternoon to bestow on you the medallion as the 12th inaugural lecturer of Benson Idahosa University, and also as one of the senior professors in this university. Congratulations.
Members of management to join the VC and the lecturer. Management, please, before the family members. Then the family members now with the guest lecturer. Sorry, with the inaugural lecturer, sorry. pleasure to invite back to the podium the inaugural lecturer to do the vote of thanks right away. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Vice Chancellor and management of Benson Idahosa University for being fully present at this occasion and for the support that they gave that led to the success of this occasion. I'd like to thank all my friends and family members that are here, all the guests that are here. I can see your faces, I can't name all of you. I'm indebted to you for the support. I want to thank the very, very many people that were online for joining us also for this lecture. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to invite the DDC to take closing prayers now. Thank you, sir. Shall we ask for our feet to take closing prayers?
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we give you thanks as we bring this 12th inaugural lecture of Benson Idahosa University to a close. We thank you for granting your daughter utterance. Thank you for that which we have learned today. We thank you for the university. As we look forward to the 13th inaugural lecture, we pray that you continue to bless us in Jesus' name. People have traveled from different corners of the nation. As they are going back, take them back safely in Jesus' name. Thank you, Father Lord, for hearing us. We are praying in Jesus' name.
Please, let's remain standing, please, as we take the anthems. First, this time around with the Benson Idahosa University anthem, and then the national anthem. BIE choir.
Thou fruit of faith, thy face
and for being a part of the 12th inaugural lecture of Benson Inaugural University. Congratulations to Professor Alexandra Esimaje. We are the 5th female inaugural lecturer of Benson Inaugural University. Congratulations.
An inaugural lecture is a lecture that admits the lecturer into the rank of professors, where she gives an account of what she did that merits her to be made a professor. The lecturer today, and Professor Esimaje, gave a full account of her work. So many people will need to sit down to read the book and understand her contribution to knowledge. She has done well, and I congratulate her. Thank you.
I am Professor Rosemary Obasi, actually the Director of Academic Planning, Benson University. When I saw the title of her inaugural lecture, I was like, I can't miss this for anything, because which war? What concerns war and English? So I wanted to know the war she was talking about, and she did an excellent job by educating us, telling us the different kind of war. For me, I think I can say that we have hard and soft war. And the wars she categorized and explained here today to me, they are soft wars. I think she did an excellent job to her inaugural topic. Thank you.
Is this one? Okay. All right. Oh, I feel extremely happy, because this is a great achievement for any professor. This is a proof that you are actually a worthy professor. It's an opportunity to give an account of your professorship and to show that you merited that position. So today I had the opportunity to share with the community of persons here, to share my research with them and to tell them the contribution that I've made to learning and the contribution that I've made to knowledge. So it makes me very, very happy to look at the wars in education and to suggest ways that they can be tackled through the new field of corpus linguistics, which has to do with having new methods to approach old problems and discovering new answers to problems that were previously not answered. I'm saying that Nigerians must come to terms with the fact that they have an English that's indigenous to them. They must come to terms with the fact that British English is an unrealistic objective to set for students, because the students don't have the opportunity to be immersed in the British culture and in the British society. They must understand that the language that came to us as British English is no longer the same. It has changed because our culture is different. It has changed because our thoughts are different. It has changed because our language is different. So what we have is a midway English. It's not the same one that came from Britain. And so it is important to recognize that the English you have in Nigeria is Nigerian English. And so we should give it that status and be able to write its grammar, make dictionaries based on it, and teach students with the English that they understand. Now, some of the students, almost all the students that we graduate from our institutions may never have the opportunity to live in English native countries. And so even if you think you teach them British English, they may not be able to use it in such a context. So, and that is why I'm saying that we should promote the English that we speak and the English that we write, and should give Nigerian English the status that it deserves. We are not saying that there is no British English, but we're saying that this is Nigeria, and English we speak here is Nigerian English. We should be proud of it.